Chumash, really back and forth. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Here's my copy. Are we ready to roll?
Yeah.
I'll pay for the water. Whoever brought it, thank you. Who brought the water? You did, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Davai, you have this? You have this? Good. Okay, my photographer says that's not properly centered, but I'm not taking the picture, so I just criticize. No, stand up and look at it, you'll see. You have to, okay. But you just didn't worry about it. Whatever you can do is gonna be not work, so. Sarah looks Sasser. How old is Sarah Sasser? Her sister just got married.
I
Okay.
worked with her.
Where do you work with her?
I worked with her in a camp in Bushy in the summer in England for the for the Sudaks. And then
Who's that?
the one you're also related to.
Lady.
Yeah,
That's cool.
her daughter. And then we work in New Jersey together every week. Park Slope in Jersey City.
Sunday.
Not Park Slope. Jersey
Hoboken.
and Jersey City.
On Sundays,
Tuesdays.
Tuesday, I'm like, what they have, the Talmud Torah or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, send the cards back, whatever. Whatever you gotta do. Are we ready, people? Are we ready? I'm the only one, the one who's not ready is me. I'm projecting. Okay, so. Last week. We were back to Chumash, right? And we'll get back to the city when we're ready. And we're learning Friday, the 5th of Sivan. That's how we're doing this. Okay, this is going on for several years. We went through each of the days of preparation for the giving of the Torah. We did Monday, the 1st of Sivan, Tuesday, the 2nd of Sivan, Thursday, the 4th, Wednesday, the 3rd of Sivan, Thursday, the 4th of Sivan, and now we're doing Friday, the 5th of Sivan. I got 4 or 5 sikhs to learn. Okay, that's how much material there is on Erev Matan Torah, the day before the Eibush gave us the Torah. So we always start with the Chumash. So I gave you each a handout. Were there any extras, by the way, or are they all gobbled up? I guess that means you're all eaten up.
Can we leave them with you though at the end of the class?
You can do whatever you want. I had a man who used to say, just don't call me late for breakfast. You can do it anyway. There's no late for breakfast. I'm not sure what that means, but that's supposed to be funny.
Do whatever you want, but don't call me late for breakfast. He only wants breakfast.
I feel like it.
I started to explain to you last week, but you were talking about it more. This was the formal conversion of the Jewish people. I actually copied that Rambam. I'm going to give it to you later. I copied that Rambam, where the Rambam makes it very clear of what the process of Jairus is, what the process of conversion is, and that we learn it from right here. We're going to do that momentarily soon. But in the meantime, we're in the middle of a Chumash. So we're on, I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's the 3rd page of your stack. No, the bottom of the 2nd page. We'll start here. The bottom of the 2nd page of your stack. Okay, that's what we're going to start. Now we started reading this last week, and the material we read last week we're going to go through quickly. I must have a Chumash with Rashi. If you're with Rashi here, that's too much to ask.
It's up there. You left it for you. By Abba Kubaher. Second one.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll read it from the beginning, okay? Understand. The Jewish people opt for a personal meeting with God, a direct meeting with God, right? And of course, it's going to cost them dearly. But part of what's going to cost them is have to do additional preparations. So we read the bold, that is continued Thursday from Pashat Mishpatim in bold. Vel Meisha Omar, on that Thursday afternoon, Hashem tells Meisha Rabbeinu, Alei Hashem come up to God Almighty, Ata, you, but Aaron and your brother Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, Aaron's two older sons of Avihu, the Shivim and Ziknei Yisrael, the 7 elders of the Avihu people, and you'll bow down from a distance. And the pasuk says, "V'nigash Moshe Rabbeinu." Moshe Rabbeinu approached by himself, al Hashem to the Eibishter. Behem and the others, they came closer than the rest of the Jews because they were singled out, but they did not come as close as Moshe Rabbeinu. They remained a little bit further away. V'ham, while the people they didn't go up at all. That's what it says in the Chumash. Now, the question becomes, these two psukim describe Hashem talking to Moshe Rabbeinu on Thursday, right? What happened on Thursday? You must remember a cardinal rule, at least according to Rashi. I don't know if all the commentaries agree with this, but this is Rashi's opinion. That Moshe Rabbeinu only went up on the mountain to talk to God early in the morning. And I suspect that was his tradition even when the Beis HaMikdash was built and the Shechina was in the Beis HaMikdash. Moshe went in the morning. He had conversations with God first thing in the morning. If he had a conversation with the Eibishter Chayach, and he went out, and he had a reason to go back in, he would wait till the next day. He wouldn't go in twice. And he only went early in the morning. So that Thursday morning, Moshe went in to the Eibishter, went up the mountain, and he told the Eibishter that the Yidden are insisting to speak to the Eibishter directly, no lawyers. And as I told you last week, I love to say this, God thought it was a terrible idea. Moses thought it was a great idea. The Jews had no idea what they were getting themselves into. They would all become prophets and they would expire 10 times. They would die 10 times. And the Malachim would bring them back until the Jews said, you know what? Let's go back to plan A. So Moshe tells the Eibishter what the Jews want. And in quotes, Hashem tried to reason with Moshe Rabbeinu, but Moshe thought it was such a cool idea. They didn't want it to be prophets, that he was such blind to the reality. I'm sure it's more complicated than that. I think Moshe Rabbeinu felt it's worth to become a Navi even if you lose your life. Right? Nadav and Avihu lost their lives because they became close to God. After Nadav and Avihu died, there was a law passed that you're not allowed to do that anymore. But this is before. So Moshe, so they'll die. They'll experience oneness with Hashem. If this is what they want, that's the most incredible experience, to experience intimacy, conscious intimacy with God, or with godliness, as we like to call it. And Moshe thought it was a great idea. So on that day, when Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Eibishter, the most important thing Hashem tells him is what's called mitzvah freedom. They have to prepare themselves. If they're going to be, quote unquote, inside the fence, they're going to be privy. So the meeting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Hashem is going to tell you they have to make themselves holy. They have 48 hours to accomplish what should normally take a lifetime, to prepare themselves to accomplish. I'm going to be honest. This morning, I do this each week. When I prepare the class of the week, I listen to bits and pieces of what I said last week, so I know what we discussed. I talked to you a little bit about how much preparation, how perfect, how precise a person needs to be in his or her entire life, to be worthy that the expression of the Gemara is that the Shekhinah should rest upon him or her. In other words, they should become a prophet. And Yidden, who were very far from perfect, had 48 hours to achieve it. So Hashem gives Moshe Rabbeinu instructions about how they should prepare themselves. And then we come to this. What does it say here? Moshe. And again, we're inferring, we're understanding. Fine. The Jews want to meet me directly. And I'll if that's what they want, they can have it. They want to become prophets. They want to meet me without a lawyer. Gesundheit will do it their way. It would not be so gesund to the end, but fine. If this is what they want, we'll do it their way. But even under the new terms, where they're going to become prophets, there's also going to be levels. And that's how you read these two psukim. Hashem says to Moshe, all the Jews are inside the fence. They're all going to experience prophecy, but they're not going to all experience prophecy from the same place. You're going to come up the mountain. Aaron is going to be at the foot of the mountain. Nadav and Avihu are going to be lower than him. The elders are going to be lower than them. And then it's going to be the Jewish people. Meaning, even within the new plan for Matan Torah, that Hashem is going to give himself to every single Jew directly and personally without a stars, without a word, there's still going to be differences. Some Yidden are going to be on a higher level, and some Yidden are going to be at a lower level. So when you read Pasuk Beis, see what Pasuk Beis says? V'nigash Moshe lavade, Moshe Rabbeinu will approach by himself. El Hashem to God, v'heim le'yagosha, they're not going to approach. You reading?
Yeah.
V'ha'am, and the people, lo yalu ima, not going to come with him. This is written in present tense. This pasuk can be read as a narrative, as a story, or as an instruction. In other words, it either read something which already happened, or as something which is meant to happen. You have to understand in Shutei Shel Mikra that this pasuk is part of Hashem's instruction. Hashem says to Moshe, they want to become prophets, fine. Go down, prepare them for Matan Torah. For 2 days, they have to be in a state of perishus, of separation and holiness. And after that, still tell them that there's going to be Madreges. It's still level. You're going to go to the top of the mountain, Adam's going to be at the foot of the mountain, another going to be a little bit further away, and the elders going to be even further away, and so on. And that's how you read these two psukim. It says to Moshe, tell the Yidden that they're, even if they're going to be prophets, there's levels in prophecy. Now, I don't want to give you a long drasha of prophecy, but when the Rambam talks about prophecy, the Rambam explains that prophecy has levels. And he actually compares levels of prophecy. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. He compares levels of prophecy to levels of learning. You have different levels of learning. Some people understand more, some people understand less, some people understand more deeply, some people understand more basically, some people learn one subject, other people learn another subject. Now, prophecy is a communication between man and God, or God and man. But prophecy is the communication between God and man, which is all about man. We talked about this at length last year when we learned Thursday. It's all about man's worthiness. In other words, if a person's on a higher level, they'll experience prophecy in a higher way. If a person's on a lower level, they're going to experience prophecy in a lower way. I explained to you that the Chazal say, the Gemara says, that the era of prophecy, the time when there were many prophets, which is exactly 1,000 years ago. But the Hashem gave us the Torah until Shimon HaTzadik passes away 40 years into the second base of Mikdash. It's exactly, it's precisely 1,000 years from 2448 to 3448. And during that period, the Gemara says there were 1.2 million prophets. 1.2 million prophets in 1,000 years. That means 12,000 new men and women became prophets each year during that millennium.
During when? Sorry.
The 1,000 years from Matan Torah until Shimon HaTzadik passes away, which is 40 years into the second base of Mikdash, which is exactly 1,000 years, there were 1.2 million prophets. The flying Kiyetim Mitzrayim, the Gemara says. Now we have a record of only 55 out of 1,200,000. 48 men and 7 women. And the reason is because the Gemara says we only record prophecy which are for later generations, and the rest of the prophecies, they experience prophecy in a way that was local, either was only for them or only for their times and the rest, and so on. So understand that when you read about Yeshaya, Isaiah, who ran around talking to the people, he was like the greatest of them. And Ezekiel, Yecheskel, Eliyahu, and Elisha. Most prophets achieved this level of intimacy with Hashem, but it was for them. It wasn't at a high enough level where they could share with anybody else, or they were meant to share with anybody else. It was prophecy with an intimate meeting with Hashem, but it was on a whole level. And this is what it's saying in this passage. Hashem says to Moshe, even if they're all going to be prophets, but they're not all the same. Adam is closer, another going to be further away, and 70 others are further away, and the rest of the camp are even further away. You understand? That's what this pasuk of Psukim are saying. Now, the personality that's missing here is a guy named Yeshua, Joshua, who was destined to be the Moshe Rabbeinu's successor. And he was now he followed his teacher around like a shadow, like a second skin. And he stayed at the foot of the mountain the entire 40 days. He didn't just stay there for the occasion. Now, what level was he on? We don't know. Doesn't say. But it's interesting that he's not included in this grouping. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm saying it now for the third time, even if all the Jews become prophets, some are going to be closer, some are going to be. Are we good?
Yeah.
So then the next part continues. Moshe Rabbeinu comes. He tells the people all the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Etkala Meshpatim and all of his laws. Vayan kol ha'om koilech, the entire collective, the entire congregation answered in one voice. Vayemin, what they said, kol hadvarim asher Hashem, all the words, all the things that Hashem has spoken, not something will do. Now, good, I want to point something out. On the same page that you're holding, I'm holding here. Don't be afraid of me. I'm not worth it. My wife, after 35 years, don't be afraid of me. Something to ask.
Which one are we on?
I just read Pasuk Gimel, but I want to point something out. If you look at the top of the page, there's one kind of type. The bottom of the page is different kind of type. The top of the page is from history. The dark, the bold type is from Mishpatim. And as I explained to you last week, the story of the giving of Torah is broken up into two parashas, which is one of the things we'll be talking about in the first we're going to learn. Look here by Pasuk Yedalad. See Pasuk Yedalad, top of the page? By Yered Meish Minahar, Moshe came down the mountain, to the people. By Kaddish Ta'am, he made them holy. By Yechapsu, some they washed their clothes. By Yemed, he told the people, and wait for the third day, that 48 hours. I'll picture Elisha, stay away, don't be intimate physically. That's big short. Go to the mikveh and don't be intimate physically. That says here. Now look, when it says in the middle of the page, Gimel, here, you need a copy? I have copies for you.
I can't find them, sorry.
Open up the page. It's in the back of the first page.
It says, the service continued Thursday from Parsha Mishpat. It says, it's under the heading continued Thursday from Parsha Mishpatim in bold, and then we're in section Gimel. Like it's the back of the first page.
I see, thank you. I see.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want you to understand that when it's we're good, we're all in tune. Yeah. When it says here, Vayered Moshe Minahar, Moshe came on the mountain in Yadalit, and it says in the middle, Gimel, Vayavi Moshe, it's the same story, written in two different places. In Pashat yesterday, it says that Moshe tells Hashem that the Jews want to speak to the Eibishter directly, and Hashem says, fine, they should speak to me directly, prepare them. In Pashat Mishpatim, you have details that are added, where Hashem says to Moshe in the middle of the page, they're going to become prophets, but they're not going to all be equal. Even in prophecy, they're not going to be equal. Aaron is going to be physically closer because he's going to be spiritually higher. Nadav and Aviv is going to be physically a little bit farther away because he's going to be spiritually a little bit lower. The 70 others are going to be physically a little further away because they're going to be spiritually even lower. And the rest of them are going to stay in the camp. I can reach them. I'll get them. But they're not going to go up at all. So this story and this story is the same story. So when it says in Pasuk Yudal, Vayered Moshe Minahar, the top of the page, and it says in the middle of the page, Gimel, Vayavi Moshe Vayisapeh, it's actually the same story. Moshe comes down the mountain and he has several things to do. Number one, get the Ibrahim Har Sinai. That's in Pashat Yisrael. Number two, to get ready to convert the Jewish people. That's in Pashat Mishpat. They're actually reading the same event twice. Once in Pashat Yisrael, and in Pashat Yisrael, Moshe the Torah offered us certain details of what happened. He came down the mountain. He spoke to the Jewish people about getting ready to become a prophet. To be a prophet, don't waste any time and don't waste anything, and be pure and holy and think about lofty things and become a refined person. What takes a lifetime, there 48 hours to do. That's here. Here it's the same story, but the Torah talks a different aspect. First of all, that even if they become prophets, they're not going to all be equal prophets. And second of all, he teaches them certain mitzvahs. Okay? So let's read Gimel again. Did you follow that? That wasn't too complicated, right? Gimel again. Vayovi Moshe Rabbeinu comes, Vayisaper Omed called Divrei Hashem, he tells the people all of Hashem's words, namely that they have to get themselves ready to become prophets. But he tells them also something else. There's Kol HaMishpatim. There's Kol HaMishpatim means all of the laws. And if you look, I have an Rashi in front of me. That means, I talked about this last week in some detail, Sheva Mitzvahs of Noach, Shabbos, Kibbutz Avim, Paraduma, and Din. It was the day before the Torah would be given. It's actually 2 days before. It's Thursday. And Moshe said, we're going to get the Torah in 2 days hence. You have to spiritually prepare yourself. But you also have to review what you have already. Like you're going to get the Torah on Shabbos, the 6th of Sivan, pardon me. And you get all 613 mitzvahs. So the spiritual preparation, which is the process yesterday, is get yourself ready to become a prophet. The scholarly preparation, the practical preparation is let's review all the Torah that we have from before. And I told you last week that the Rambam, when the Rambam discusses the Sheva mitzvahs of Noach, the way he presents it was that when Hashem created the world, all the was given 6 mitzvahs. Adam was given only 6 mitzvahs. He wasn't given the 7. Why was he only given 6 mitzvahs?
Didn't have a mother and father.
No, the 6 mitzvahs do not include people of aim, because you were not allowed to kill animals and eat meat. So if you're not allowed to kill animals and eat meat, there was no mitzvah of Eivim and Nichai of being cruel to animals. It was self-understood. So they got 6 commandments, which were do not curse God, do not steal, make a court system, don't murder, don't worship idols, don't be immoral sexually. But the mitzvah of not being cruel to animals was not originally given because they were not allowed to even kill, they were not allowed to eat meat, so they couldn't have touch it. Noach came out of the table in whatever year it was, 1056. He was born in 1056, so it was 1656, came out of the table to 1057. However, we counted. And Hashem said, I'm allowing you to eat meat. Until now, you're only allowed to eat vegetation, food, and seeds, and grasses. I'm allowing you to eat meat. And it says in some of the Sodom that the reason Hashem allowed people to eat meat after the table, because Noach was a tzaddik. He did not deal with the sins that brought about the flood. But the animals were all guilty. All the animals had sinned. The way the animals sinned is mizdavim she'enamid. They were having relationships with animals of a different type. These are the commandments that animals are not supposed to do. Today it's very unnatural, it's very unlikely. But for the Mama, they were all meant to die. He saved them only to help people live. And since the image should save the animals to help people live, Hashem says, in quotes, animals do not serve me directly anymore. Now they serve you, so you permit them to eat meat. Then Hashem said, you're allowed to kill and eat, but you're not allowed to torture. And he added the 7th mitzvah of Eivim and Nichai. You with me? Yeah. Then Abraham Avinu came along, and Hashem gave him another mitzvah, this Milah and Shila Shachris. Then Yitzchak came along, and Hashem gave him the mitzvah of Maisis, of giving a tithe, of giving a certain amount of tzedakah, and he made Filas Mincha. Then Yaakov came along, and Hashem gave him the mitzvah of Gidan Hashem, and now eat the sciatic nerve of an animal's, whatever its front leg, whatever leg it is, and he was fouled to us out of it, right? So how many mitzvahs we got now? We got 10 or 11. We have Milah, we have Maisis, and we have a Gidan Hashem, and maybe also Karbonis. Maybe also Tefilah, maybe Daven, right? You want to count them. Then they got more mitzvahs. Particularly after they left Egypt, Hashem gave them some big ones. He gave them Shabbos, keeping of aim, keeping the Shabbos, honoring your parents. Paradum of all things that you have to prepare, they actually read happen to pure, the people become spiritual impure by contacting the remains of a person, a dead person, and the details about the law, the court of law, even though it's one of the Sheva mitzvahs, Hashem repeats that in the same opinion. It could be that it's a higher standard or more detail, I don't know what it is. So the Torah, as the Rambam describes it, is given piecemeal. Ishtikalach, piece, one piece, another piece. And then the Rambam says, Bo Moshe already came along, and the Torah was completed through him. Nigma Torah, meaning it's not like the way we understand it in mysticism, that what Moshe Rabbeinu got was a whole nother thing than what they had before. No, they were given mitzvahs slowly. Adam was given 6, Noach was given a 7, Abraham was given an 8, Yitzchak was given a 10th, Yaakov was given a 9th, Yaakov was given a 10th, and then you can count over to an 11th. And then they got more mitzvahs. By the time they got to Torah, they had many more than 7. They took that a handful of mitzvahs, and it was all setting up with everything given the Torah, and the Torah will become complete. We're going to have all 630 mitzvahs. So Moshe said last week, and yesterday, make yourself holy to become a prophet. And he says this week, let's review the Torah we have already in preparation for getting more Torah. So if you think about it logically, and that may be a bad idea, but nevertheless, if you think about it logically, last week's part of the account of Thursday, the 5th of Stephen, are the 4th of Stephen, are about prophecy, about the spiritual aspects. And our Pasha, Mishpatim, speaks about the same day, but he speaks about the legal aspects, the practical aspects. And we read on. So the other Moshe came along in the middle of the second page. They stopped along. They told the Jewish people, "Called David Hashem, all the words of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Yisrael Mishpat, with all the mitzvahs they had until that point. The Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Ner and Shabbos and Kibbutz Avayim and Varadum and Dinim. The whole nation said together, the Yom what they said, Hashem and spoke both at the mount, and also both to the others, and also when he gave the mitzvahs in Mora and so on. Nasser, we're gonna do. The Jews say, okay, we're in. Now I don't know if they're expecting 613. It's quite a few mitzvahs. But they had more than 7. They had a handful of mitzvahs, important ones and hard ones, and difficult ones. And Hashem said, okay, you're going to be getting more. I'm about to complete the Tefilah. Whatever you're going to give us, we're good? Yeah?
I have a question. Rabbi Paltiel,
Yes.
could I ask a question?
Your risk.
Okay. Second is, last lesson we said last class that, Hashem saw that it's a horrible idea to reveal himself to the youth. But now we're saying that Hashem reveals himself, so it was just a specific amount of people which were like.
No, everybody. It was leveled, everybody. And it turned out to be a terrible idea because they died. 10 times. Hashem knew what he was talking about. And you know what else? Moshe knew that Hashem knew what he was talking about. But he didn't care. He didn't care. You become the Rebbe, what can be better than that? Moshe was a Chassidish Yid. In addition to being a Rebbe, he was a Chassidish Yid. I told you the story once before, that there's a man that I knew who used to do business deals. Whenever he finished the deal, he would bring the Rebbe a shopping bag of cat. It's a dog, the Rebbe can do whatever he wants. He told me he once got involved in a deal, and the deal was terrible. He found it terrible terms. So he gave the money in advance before the deal. So Rabbi Klein, the Rebbe secretary, said to him, "You're ready just for the money for your last deal. What's this?" He says, "Tell the Rebbe, if the Rebbe asks, we're taking out insurance. we're giving this struggle before." So Rabbi Klein walked into the Rebbe, it was a shopping bag full of cash. It was thousands of dollars. And he said, this is a battle on label. There were 2 brothers, they were real estate developers, and they were chassidim, and they gave them a lot of money. So the Rebbe says to Rabbi Klein, they just brought in money to the last job. How did it happen so quick? Rabbi Klein said that they told me to say that his job is very very complicated. So they took out insurance, and the Rebbe cracked up with a laugh. He says, what a great idea. So on the one hand, the Rebbe is the Rebbe who has the power to give brachas. On the other hand, he's the chassid who appreciates the feeling of a chassid that you got to take out insurance. You see, so Moshe Rabbeinu, and he told me, label, they never had an easy job in their life. He said the liens against that property was unbelievable. Everybody owned it. The federal, state, city, there were taxes for years and years and years. It was a property that was so burdened with tax that there was no way to develop it in profit. It had to bankrupt itself. It was like a circle. And 3 different firms of developers had taken it and bankrupted it 3 times over because of the lien. And they figured it out. They figured it out. It was the easiest job they ever had. So on the one hand, the Rebbe is giving them the bracha. On the other hand, the Rebbe says it. As a chassid, it's a great idea. Moshe Rabbeinu, as a Rebbe, knew that the Yiddish was right. But as a chassid, he thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So they'll die. It's the cost of doing business. I know it sounds so insensitive, but Moshe Rabbeinu knew what it means to meet Hashem personally because he did it all the time. And he thought it would be wonderful if every year to have that experience, no matter what the cost. What's interesting is how the story is told. The spiritual part of the story is in Yisrael. The practical part of the same story, it's happening at the same time. Moshe is coming down the mountain on the top of your page in Yudalid, and Moshe coming down the mountain in the middle of your page, Gimel is exactly the same event. But the part of it which has to do with the spirituality, getting ready to become a prophet, is in Yisrael. And the part of it which has to do with the practical side, means learning and remembering the Torah and knowing how to keep its mitzvah, this is the Mishpah. And then it says.
Wait, sorry. So which one? So Yudalid is the one where they have to learn about the different mitzvahs?
No. Learn how to become prophets. Gimel is the one where they're learning all the Torah they had until that point is reviewed. Okay?
But is it,
Of course.
is it, following question, is it valuable for Hashem for Eve to die after seeing him or to leave in this world? I think that it's opposite idea of what Hashem created this world for. Like for sure, for Jew, it's a bad thing to meet Hashem and to die after, but to have the prophecy of Hashem. But it's not the reason Hashem created the world. In my humble opinion.
What is your question?
What's the biggest value? Like which value?
Depends who you ask. Hashem has one value, Moshe has another value, and the Yidden have a third value.
Hashem's perspective.
Hashem thought it was a bad idea, told Moshe, don't do it. No! But Moshe said, please, the cherry on top, you understand? I don't know, I say it in Russian, but I said, okay, not that idea. You want it, you got it. He told me, Hashem said it was a terrible idea. Moshe thought it was a great idea, and the Jews have no idea what was going to happen. But Moshe got his way. Why? Because in addition to being a Rebbe, he was pushed to Chassidus. He said, it's worth it. It's worth it. So you're asking practical questions. Moshe didn't think practically. He thought like a chassid. That's the whole point. That's what's beautiful about this.
So should we want to think like a chassid or think practically or both?
I see, if I answer you, I'm gonna have to answer her and her and her and her and her and her and her. There's a guy named Nadav and Avihu, actually two guys. You ever heard of Nadav and Avihu? You know what happened to them? They did the same trick and they died, and Hashem did not resurrect. And Hashem said, no more. That's it. This business of getting so close to me that he died over. This is before them. Okay? Now, that's the tip of the iceberg of answering your question. But in your religion, there's always the question, is God serving me or am I serving God? Is it benefiting me or is it benefiting him? And this is a question you and I ask ourselves every single day. And the ideal is, like she said, that we serve God. But there's no doubt that part of our relationship with the Eibishter is that our relationship with him is very meaningful. It serves us. That's what Moshe was thinking. This is not going to be what thinking. And Hashem said, yeah, it's allowed to serve you, but you got to stay alive. And you can serve me also. This is before that. Okay? So we continue. Moshe called to Hashem. Moshe ben wrote all this down. So Rashi said, what did he write down? He wrote down whatever they just learned. He wrote down from Bereshis until now, until Mishpat. Now, I got up this morning and I listened to part of the recording from last week, and I discussed with you briefly the opinions in the Gemara, the two opinions in the Gemara about how the Sefer Torah was written. Okay? One opinion of the Gemara is that Megillas, Nitna, the Torah was written in little pieces, what we call in halachic language, hashiyos, sections of any, ever seen the inside of a Sefer Torah or a picture of it? Anybody?
Yes.
You look at Sefer Torah, you see that there's spaces. And the spaces are different. Sometimes the middle of the line, sometimes the end of the line, sometimes it's the end of the line and the beginning of the next line, all kinds of different arrangements. Those spaces are called parshiyos. All the psukim within one space and next to the parsh. Okay, and sometimes they have what's called a psucha, an open space, and sometimes it's still what's called a closed space. There's a lot of complicated sheets about this, but we follow one sheet, the other sheet. The bottom line is made of a bunch of little pieces. And according to one opinion of the Gemara, that's how it was written. According to the other opinion of the Gemara, Teira Chatsum and Nitna, the Teira was given to the Jews on one day, entirely from beginning to end without any division. So Chassidus asks the classic question: how can you argue about a fact? But if we believe that Elu and Elu, Dividend and Shimachai, that they're both right, you're talking about factual things. If one is right, the other is wrong. Second one is wrong, the other is right. How can they both be right? And Chassidus answers that they're both true. Practically, the head was written in pieces. And they were put together at whatever time it was. Spiritually, when the Torah was put together and given to us, it was given to us as a single unit. The difference wasn't put together. And this is a higher level. Here we're reading about part of Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu sat down on Thursday, the fourth of Sivan, and he wrote down the Chumash from Bereshit until this. Let's keep reading, okay? Right here. Moshe ben York told the Olam. This was all on Thursday, the 4th of Sivan. He came back down, he gave them messages about prophecy, he reviewed with them all the Torah that until the point, and he wrote it down. Now, Friday, 5th day, 5 Sivan 2448, the collective conversion of the Jewish people. I'm reading it. It's the middle of a pasuk, realize, right? Dalet falls from here into here. They get up in the morning. They have to remember, when you tell a person, you're 40 days to become a prophet, 48 hours to become a prophet, I quit. They didn't quit, but they worked. And again, I listened this morning to the class I gave you last week, and I talked about what it means using every minute, not wasting anything. And the truth of the matter is that we should be that way always. But we're not. That's why we're not prophets. Prophets are that way always. At least for the next 2 days, be good, That was the message. So that night, whatever they did, sleeping and eating was very, very controlled. But be that as it may, they get up in the morning. Now it's Friday, the 5th of Sivan. And make sure to build an altar underneath the mountain, and 12 single stone monuments, also a shift the 12 tribes of it. Now it says in the Gemara, at the time of the Ovis, people used to make matzevis. Matzev means the equivalent of matzev. It translates English as a monument, one stone that you stand up as a reminder of something, and people use them as a mizbeach, right? The best example of a matzeva was Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, remember that story? The 12 stones, so they were arguing who's going to lay it, on which one Yaakov was going to lay his head. All the stones became one. Yaakov got up in the morning and he took one stone as opposed to the night before there were many stones, and he poured oil on the stone and he said, "This is based on the Kim," and they promised to come back. And of course, 22 years later, he returned. But the Gemara says, I think it actually means in the Chumash, that the time of the Ovis, making a monument was considered honorable. When the Torah was given, the Eivisha says, "You're not allowed to make a matzeva. You're not allowed to make a single stone monument because Hashem hates it." Now, you're not allowed to worship idols. We all understand that, right? You're not allowed to make an altar for idols. You understand that also? You're not allowed to make a matzeva even for Hashem. Or mizbeach of many stones. We're not only allowed to make, we have to make in the Beis Hamikdash. But a single stone, matzeva, used to be honorable and actually desirable and respectable in time of the others, and the Eivisha said no more. But this is before. So Moshe builds a mizbeach, an altar, which is being korbanos. He puts up 12 monuments. It's hard to know whether Moshe did this himself, whether 12 tribes did it, but the bottom line is that's what happened. The day before the was given, each shevet arranged or put up a separate monument. And Moshe Rabbeinu built a mizbeach. And in the presence of those 12 monuments, certain korbanos were going to be offered up, which is the prepares to receive the invitation. You with me? We're good? Yeah.
I'm not sure they all make a different monument to him. What was the
For themselves. Each of the 12 tribes made a monument to themselves. To themselves. Vayishlach is not a Bnei Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu sends to call the firstborn of the Jews. Not even means the firstborn. Because until the story of the golden calf, the firstborn were meant to be the Kohanim. Okay? And he told them that they should bring the karbanos. Now remember, as I explained to you last week, the Jewish people are going to be now collectively converted. Part of the process of conversion is bringing karbanos. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells them how to get ready to be Nevi'im. Moshe Rabbeinu reviews all the Torah they had until that point. Moshe Rabbeinu writes down all the Torah they had at this point. It's all preparation, and now he's going to convert them. And the first thing he does, he builds a mizbeach and talks money. But Yizbechu Zivchi Shlomim, they offer up offerings. So unless the word of offering, they would consume the mizbeach completely. But Yizbechu Zivchi Shlomim, they also brought peace offerings. Hashem to Almighty part of cows or ox. Now, if you haven't noticed, I'm literally following this even above you, which is really, really bad. We're gonna have to break. I'm getting pointed on my sister to witness. I just want to point out that the day before the Torah is given to the Jewish people, and they call the then priests. They bring karbanos, and the karbanos consist of two types: offerings that are consumed entirely by the Levites, which are called olah, and offerings which are shared by God, the priests, and the population, bringing them that are called peace offerings. And you need to understand something. According to halacha, a peace offering is a lower level of holiness than an offering which is entirely consumed by the Mizbeach. It's called kachim kodeshim and kachim kalim. Oila, an offering which is consumed entirely by the Mizbeach, is called a holy of holies in terms of karban, in the sacrifice. A shlom, a peace offering which is shared between God and the kohanim and the people, is called kachim kalim, a lower level of holiness. But you need to understand the other side of that coin. That a peace offering is a unique gift that God gave the Jewish people. Understand that according to Jewish law, there is a phenomenon of sacrifice. And it goes back to whom? Where does sacrifices begin? Adam Arishan, Adam. Adam brought karbonis. Cain and Hevel brought karbonis. Remember that story, right? They didn't work out to get the Hevel, but they brought karbonis, right? Sheth brought karbonis, Enosh brought karbonis, Noach brought karbonis, Shem brought karbonis, right? And they all went to Adam and Eve to bring their karbonis. Karbonis have run since the beginning. And you may or may not know this, but the Rambam says that karbonis are an answer to idol worship. And the Rambam takes it to task, takes up his glove, the mud. Because how could if sacrifice is an answer to idol worship, why did Adam Nation bring karbonis? There was no idol worship in the world yet. So without getting into the question of how to resolve the Rambam, there's the website I heard about called Intel.org. You go to that website and go to Parshas Vayikra. There's a class that answers that question, as far as I remember. I know the guy who runs that website. I know him. But in any case, karbonis are part of the Jewish religion, not just the Jewish people, but the non-Jews. And it's fascinating. Halachas are fascinating. Why? Because a Jew was told that you could bring a carbon any place you want. If it's certain kinds of carbon. Other kind of carbon, you can only bring what's called a bomba v'dayla. If you were the Mishkan Shila, it was in a very special place. But certain carbon you can bring any place you wish, and certain carbon you can bring the base of it. But that idea that a Jew could bring many carbon any place he wants is only true until they found the Makkah. So they found the place where the temple would be built. When they came to the place that was definitely made to be built, then Hashem said, from now on, Jews can only be in Kabbalah here, no place else. You with me? Yeah. Which means today, you meet a goy. He's a really pious man. He's a practitioner of the 7 laws of Maya. He says to you, I want to sacrifice to God. Can you help me? No, you probably can't help him because you don't know enough, right? But the law would be, you can say to this non-Jew the following, I will teach, but I can't lift a pebble. Because you could bring a carbon any place you wish, because you're not Jewish. I can only bring it in Haramiri, only on the Temple Mount. So I can teach you how to do it, but I cannot help you. So you can, on Eastern Parkway, help this guy put up stones and make him his bear, however you do that. Have to be attached to the ground, there's not really any space underneath it. got to be stone, it has to have sand. There's all kinds of rules made of stone. This is the Chavon. The Ibn is the Chavon is Choyv. And then you teach them how to slaughter the animal, and sprinkle the blood, and the carpet has to be consumed like this. Those are the rules. To say this in the other words, in the times of the first and second Beit HaMikdash, Goyim brought Karbanos, and they were received with open arms. A non-Jew can do the carbon, no problem. But one thing a non-Jew cannot do. He can't bring a carbon with him and God, sit at the same table and share food. That gift was given only to the Jewish people. In other words, Shlomim, a peace offering, it's a lower level of holiness, but it's a very special thing. Because philosophically, a carbon oila means you bring a carbon and the Abish to eat and you watch him. Shlomim means you're sitting at the same table. Hashem is sitting here, the Kohanim are sitting here, and you are sitting with your wife and your children and your slaves and maidservants, and at the same time they're sharing his meat. This gift is unique to the Jewish people. Only Yidden were given the right to not only sacrifice to God, but to break bread with him. Shlomim. Now, I was not around in the time of the others. I wasn't there. Actually, I was there. I don't remember. I don't remember what's happening in this lifetime. I certainly remember what's happening. You know that there were people alive. There was a famous Hasidic Rebbe whose name is Rabbi Paltiel. Who was a very, the tzaddik God was a perfect Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe said great things about him. Even though he was a very big critic of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe on his back had a red birthmark, the shape of a diagonal line. He had a birthmark on his back that was shaped like this. So he said he remembers being a sheep in Yaakov's herds, and that he was the tithe. It was nice. And the way you do mice is you let all the animals go into a kennel, and you let them go out one at a time, and you hold a whip with red dye, and when 10th one passes, you mark it. And he said that that physical birthmark was the blood, that the red dye that Yaakov put on his back when he was an animal in a different life. Now, just in case you need help, an animal in Yaakov Avinu's herds in the times of the Alter Rebbe was a Rebbe. So what kind of animal do you think Yaakov Avinu was shepherding? Think about it. It's mind-blowing. It doesn't make any sense. But this one, and he maybe he shouldn't have revealed it, but he wasn't lying. He knew what he was talking about. He was a very holy man. He used to daven for the Yom Yom Kippur. He was the leader in services. And he would describe what the Kohen Gadol would do. But he didn't say the Kohen Gadol did, the Kohen Gadol did, this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I did, because he also remembered being in a different building with Kohen Gadol. And he would say, I would count and I would go in. He told the story of first person. And this was a Yid who wasn't shaykh the Gudma. The story sounds fantastic, but he would push it. He remembered his earlier Gulgulim, and he would tell his Chassidim, this is what happened to me at this Gulgul. And Yaakov Avinu was heard, he was an animal. He was an animal. And at the time of the Alter Rebbe, he was not a human being, he was a perfect tzaddik. Perfect tzaddik. So again, I don't remember that far back. I'm not the Alter Rebbe. But I believe that when people brought karbonas before Matan Torah, listen, people made human sacrifice. People made human sacrifice. But if you brought sacrifices based on the tradition that came down to them from other Medishim, who knew these traditions because they learned the Torah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that for all the non-Jews bringing sacrifice to God, the one God, until the Torah was given, no person ever brought a sacrifice and ate any of the meat. You didn't sit with the Abish at the same table and enjoy a feast. There was too rude. You sacrifice to God, that's exactly what it is. Here, Moshe tells the firstborn, he calls them the other young people, bring sacrifices which God is going to eat completely. That's normal. But he also says, we're going to make peace offering. We're going to sit at the same table. This is the day before the Torah was given, and we're going to eat meat with him. We're going to share food. So the day before the Torah was given, again, I don't know this for sure. I really don't. I didn't research it, but this is how I always understood it. That the day before the Torah was given, Moshe says to the Yidden, we're gonna get ready for giving the Tefilah, for bringing a carbon. And the carbon is not only gonna be an oil on an animal which is completely consumed by the Mizbeach, we're actually gonna enjoy the meat ourselves.
This is the Friday.
This is the Friday. Now, I have the Rambam in front of my hand that describes conversion. And the Rambam is going to quote this pasuk. But the Rambam says that when a person converts to Judaism and brings a carbon, it's an oila, it's not a shlam. When you become a Jew, you have to bring two animals, or one animal, it's an oila, you give it away. Here, two things are going on. Moshe tells the order, he tells the first word, within the fighting, bring carbon is oil. And again, let's just say it the way that Rambam said it. This carbon is going to be part of the process of becoming Jewish. But also make a feast. And we're going to sit at the same table and share food with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I would like to believe, you know how useful that is? It's not useful at all. But you happen to be sitting here and you're my captive audience, and I'm a dramatist, right? I can make things very, very exciting. In my view, this is a first. The day before the Tefilah was given, Moshe says to read. Tomorrow we're going to read 5. Today we're going to sit at the same table with him and break bread with him. Bring shlom. That's how you understand. You follow?
But they weren't Jewish, so how were they allowed to?
Oh, they were on the way. They were on the way. Okay.
So today, Garum can't bring.
They owe it. Mashiach comes and bring it.
Okay, that's my
We
question.
must. And the whole thing that what the Rambam is that chas v'shalom for a person to think that there's something wrong with the Gatus. The Gatus is complete. You own the covenant. When Mashiach comes, they say every Gates everything has been a covenant. Now, what if you're the grandson of a Gates or the granddaughter of a Gates? How does that work? The all over carbon just the one to do the conversion. Or maybe all the people who are aware that they come from gay and bring the carbon, but once it becomes forgotten that they're gay, they become a similar to Jewish people, then they don't bring the carbon. You got 3 choices. What's the answer? I don't know. We'll find out. Questions or comments? Let's break this. What an explanation for a break. Please. Okay, 5 minutes. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Find out.
Oh,
Yeah.
where's the other? Did you find the other one in the passage?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay. Oh,
Everyone else following the words that he's saying, but just like taking in.
Lee, in Hebrew, which one is the peace off or the peace offering?
De hola, we are los, we los ahora the.
And I thought the Ola was the one that was completely consumed
No.
by.
Shlomo is the one, yeah, you're right. Ola is the one that and anyway, Hashem, the Shlomo, they.
Oh, yeah.
So what?
Oh, this one Schwingen?
Yeah.
But now. Why not strawberry? Why? So which one of it?
Okay. This pen is like really dying. I'm gonna order,
You need one?
but I'm waiting. No, I saw the black one. I'm pretty sure it's mine that I lost it and then I found it somewhere, so I'm stealing it. And I'm gonna buy a new pack. But these are the best pens ever. I don't know what it is.
My nose is like so dry. I've been putting it on my nose.
And that in Pasuk Hey, they're thinking about. I wanted to do about the island.
I also have pink Vaseline if you want.
Thank you.
What?
And
This class, they have crazy ladies and boys.
yeah.
And the
It all comes out of her mouth.
Elective.
I would like to point that out.
When when did it what it over?
Huh.
In Pasuk Hey.
It's all on Friday.
Oh, I should have given her this.
How we. Rabbi Paltiel. You know how Sarah was talking about what I told him about you, Sarah was talking about. She was saying that she was really inspired by the story of your wife who didn't go to seminary for the after her mom. Or her father.
I'm loving it. That's a sort of about shidduch, you know that?
Told me also, yeah.
And my wife is not normal. I mean that in the best way. My kids are very loving. She doesn't know how to love. She doesn't know how to stop loving. She just doesn't know how. She's so smart. You know what I mean? She gave up a year of her life to look at somebody else's kids. He was mourning. He had just lost his wife. So she allowed him to mourn. He got married after the first year. He remarried after 1 year. He was able to do that because she was looking after her kids. And he said to her, "How do I pay you back?" He said, "I'm your husband. I'm the catch. Go ahead."
So if
Trust
Mashiach,
me, I got the better half of the deal. I'm not an idiot.
God willing, when Mashiach comes tomorrow and Garam brings back the Christ, will the children they have after, like once
I
Mashiach
don't know.
comes here?
I got it. I don't think so. Because the carbon is part of the conversion. Once you convert it, you convert it. Your children are born Jewish, they're not converts. They're Gedim in one tiny aspect, you know. Marry a Kohen, they're not married a Kohen for a generation, 2 or 3, but they're not converts, they're Jews.
What sort of, so, okay, I answered the question.
Just to clarify, Ola is the one that's on the chain.
That's right.
Lamien is.
That's right. That's right. We made up 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
The poison is not working.
You can start that.
I have a karusa. After here, I'm going to Gemara with somebody. And every day I fall asleep, I drink this poison on a regular basis. If I drink 2 or 3 cups of this, I'm much irritated. I'm like an addict. I'm rubbish. I feel hyped. I know. If I eat, I'll sleep. Wow. I can't eat.
Wow.
I eat my first meal of the day. I have a chavrusa after this, yeah. And after a chavrusa, I got a number. I have my bag, pizza and cheese. So food is my enemy. Food is my enemy. Wow. You get there. You'll get there. Now food is ready because it makes it not so thin, yeah. I mean, food puts me right to sleep. I drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning without sugar. And then this. And then H2O water doesn't hurt about
So
it.
you haven't eaten yet?
I'm not gonna eat for another couple hours, right? Yeah. Then I'm gonna eat and fall asleep. I'm falling asleep now too, but then I'm for sure fall asleep.
Are you wide awake on Yom Kippur?
You know, it's so interesting. That in Kippur, I want it. It doesn't split me. I'm supposed to sleep in Kippur. The whole thing about it. Can't do it. I made a decision this year. So when I finish, I daven with my father. He lived me well. I daven when he found me there. We still, and then I take a moment and go to 7-7. So I sat in 7-7, you got me in 10 to like 1. I fell asleep at 5 minutes. So I went home, I went to sleep, I got up about what time I got up, 5 or 6, went back to 7. I made a decision that starting next year, I'm not even gonna try to stay awake. I'm gonna go to sleep and wake up in the middle of the night. But yeah, I can't do it. Can't do it. I don't have enough strength. And when I was younger, I had more strength. I don't have nearly as much strength as I used to. Not true. Anyway, let's finish the point.
That one, the top is open. Another one. You want my jacket is downstairs. Bring a blanket. Ah, I was gonna say bring up the bar.
Whoa. Okay, let's go. The poison has been consumed. Let's go. So go, remember, it's Friday. It's Friday, right? Friday. It's the 5th of Sivan.
What's coming?
And Shabbos is coming and Tate.
Did they keep, like, they kept
That Shabbos.
Oh, that's a great question. It's a whole good sichos. Not for now. They were taught Shabbos before, but the Shabbos they kept before, the Shabbos after was different. So that Shabbos was like in the between,
At what point during the day did they get the Torah?
early in the morning.
So they got the Torah and then they prepared for Shabbos?
She's a chef, she's working.
No, they got the Torah Shabbos morning, not Friday morning.
Ah, okay.
Did you know what it said?
They couldn't cook. That's what they ate milchiks.
Yeah, but
Um,
after they
Yeah.
receive the Torah, then they go home and they cook. Can you imagine going home and getting ready for Shabbos now that you've learned all the halachas? That must be crazy.
But it was Shabbos. It wasn't Friday. We're Friday.
so they only used what they already had because they
That's
didn't have
correct.
time to kosher the meat. That's the
Right,
whole.
that's what they ate milchiks.
That's only
This is Friday. This is Friday. People,
Well, not.
I wrote the dates on these papers. Gosh. Friday, 5th day, 5, 7, 2, 4, 4, ready to collect for this. It's Erev Shabbos. It's Friday. They're gonna get the title the next morning,
Huh?
which is written in last week's Pasha. You tell me why it's not ordered. The title's not written in chronological order. It's very obnoxious. It's not written in this either. The Ramban, Nachmanides, says, no, it all happened in this order. The Ramban holds that the conversion was after the title was given. Ramban says, all in order. Rashi says, nope. We're reading Rashi. Okay, let's go. Let's look inside. But Pasuk Vav. Vayikach Moshe Chatzi Adam. Moshe took half the blood. Vayosem Ba'agonis. He put them into 2 different basins. Why 2 different basins? Now we don't know how many kabbanas they brought. They could have brought 100. Could have brought 1,000. How many Jews were there? There were several million in them, right? There were 600,000 men. Besides for Shevet Levi, between the ages of 20 and 60. Okay, they were old men, they were young boys, they were equal number of women. And then also the aid of Rab, they collected the multitudes, the joy with them. You took about several million people, right? They're all being converted en masse together. How many commands do you think they brought? It says for sure double. Oilois is Lashon Rabim and Porim is Lashon Rabim, at least 2 of each. But it could have been hundreds, it could have been a lot. We don't know the number, but it's for sure more than 1. He put them into 2 basins. So actually, why 2 basins? In 1 basin, he put the blood of the carbonate oil. That's Hashem's own meal. And the other basin, he put the blood of the carbonate shlamim, where we're feasting with the Abish. The day before we're going to get the Torah, we're sitting at the table with the Abish and saying, let's be friends. That's a peace. Okay? And it was in 2 different basins. Now, the Chatzi Adam, half of the blood. Zorak HaMizbeach, he sprinkles directly on the Mizbeach. He divides the blood in half. Half of the blood he puts in the basins, and the reason he put it in the basins is because he's going to sprinkle it on the Jewish people momentarily, and the other half of the blood he puts on the Mizbeach. That is one of my favorite Rashis. But it's my favorite Rashi because I'm a Nudnik. It's more Nick than Nud, but I'm a Nudnik. It says in the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu took half the blood, right? I know it was half, maybe a little more than half. I know it was half, maybe a little less than half. Did Moshe Rabbeinu stand with a measuring cup and measure? And even if he did, how perfect could his measure have been? So Rashi, of all people, is bothered by this. Why? Because Torah says half, it doesn't say approximate half. It could have said, "Vayikach Moshe kachatzi hadam," approximately half the blood, but it's chatzi. Exactly half the blood. So what does Rashi say? Michilke, we divided it in half. Malach bo v'chilke, an angel came and divided it in half. Why? Because the Torah don't lie. If the Torah says half, it's half to the molecule. So half of the blood of the oil was put here, was put on the Mizbeach, half the blood of the oil was put into a basin to sprinkle on the Jewish people, half the blood of the Shlomim was put on the Mizbeach, half the blood of the Shlomim was prepared to sprinkle on the Jewish people in another basin, and the Malach made sure it was half, 50-50. Now you could remember from a couple of weeks ago, but in our Parsha class, a couple of weeks ago, like 8 years ago, when Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, tell the Pharaoh that the death of the firstborn was going to be at midnight. Remember that? So Hashem said to Moshe, B'chatzi halayla, at midnight. And Moshe said to the Pharaoh, who remembers? Kachatzi halayla, approximately midnight. Right? So now she says, why did Moshe do what the Abish said to him?
Because if it wasn't any past midnight, then they would doubt Hashem and say that, oh, it's just touched off the purpose. Oh, no, it was just like
Coincidental. Because they were afraid that Moshe's clock, the Pharaoh's clock would be off. Aha! He killed a bunch of people, but it was off schedule. He didn't do it at the right time. So Moshe said to the Pharaoh, approximately midnight. Why? Because a minute before, the minute after this machine and a guy is going to still be afraid of the Abish. And say, look, he was off by a minute, so let me try and see if I can get away with some more stuff. But here, there's no Pharaoh involved. It's just the Yiddish Kinderlach, just the Jewish people. So the Torah tells us what happened. Moshe divided the blood in half exactly. That's physically not possible. It's not possible even today, with all the technology, to divide any fluid in a kind of way that down to the molecule is 50-50. In the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, the certain the case. But angels, they got a different point of view. The Malachim did. We're good. We read on. So half of the blood he put on the Mizbeach and half of the blood he put on the base.
So now we're on.
Pasuk Zayin. Vayikach es Sefer Habris. He took the book of the covenant. Now, what's the book of the covenant? What's the book of the covenant? So Rashi says it's the same book that he wrote about in Pasuk Dalet. Right here. Here's the Moshe. Right now, how did I explain this to you? Hashem is going to give the rest of Torah to the Jewish people. Bob Moshe, right? The Nishmat al Torah Yodei. So Moshe Rabbeinu, before they get the rest of the Torah, makes a record of the Torah they already had. So Moshe read it to them. He taught it to them. It's a lot of reading, people. The whole book of Bereshis, the whole book of Shema is still Pashas Yisrael Mishpatim, depending on how you relate to that. And I have to listen. He said to them, listen, before you get the new, let's remember the old. I want you to know that all the Rishonim, like their Ramban, disagree with Rashi. And they hold that the Yichud Bereshis means a book of a covenant. In other words, they had some kind of a ledger, some kind of a tablet, some kind of I don't know what, where they wrote down the terms of the deal between Yidden and Hashem, which we talked about project yesterday. Hashem said to the Jewish people, you do what I say, and I'm going to give you 3 gifts. I'm going to give you Lisa Yula, my chosen ones. Mamlach has played a nation of priests, which actually translates means leaders, officers. We gave Kaddish and the holy people. So that Ramban, for example, holds that Sefer Abris is an actual document where the covenant between the Jews and Hashem was written down. But Rashi doesn't agree. And Rashi holds Sefer Abris is the same thing we had in Pasuk Dalet, the Torah that they had until that point. The Torah which has already been taught to them, which is mitzvahs. The 7 mitzvahs of Noach and the handful of mitzvahs we just talked about, and so on and so forth. And I told you before, from Abraham they had Mila and Chakres, from Yitzchak they had Meiser and Mincha, the Yankov and Gideon. So they had a bunch of mitzvahs. It wasn't 613, but it wasn't 7 either. And Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it down, and now he read it. Vayikra ba'ozni ha'am, he read it to the people. Why do you think he did that? Huh? He says, people, are you ready to do this? And if they would say yes, what would come next? There's more to come. How much? I don't know yet, but there's more to come. Looking inside, Vayikra Sefer Abris, Vayikach Sefer Abris, he took the book of the covenant, which means Bereshit Ad Matan Torah. Vayikra ba'ozni ha'am, he read it to the ears of the people. Vayomru, when they declared, Kol Hashadim ben Hashem, everything Hashem has said so far. And you have to say everything Hashem is going to say going forward. Not of an Ishma. We're in. We're going to do what we're going to hear. This is it. This is Pasuk Zayin, Nasa V'Nishma. So Nasa V'Nishma means the mitzvah that we've received already. And with the mitzvah that we yet to receive, whatever the Eibishter has told us, And when the Eibishter will tell us, we're committed. Of course, Nasav and Ishma is the most important word in the entire Torah. They have so many different interpretations, right? Rashi says nothing. But you must appreciate that this is the third time they're saying Nishma, Nasav. But on the two other occasions when they said Nasav, they said only Nasav will do. Hear this thing, we'll do and we'll hear. Now, if I wasn't afraid to say it, I would say Nasav will do the ones that we know already. And Nishma will listen to the rest that we yet to find out. You see? Nasav and Nishma. But that's not good because that's not how we explain Nasav and Nishma. Right? We explain Nasav and Nishma as a single statement. But in Pshat, you can say Nasav will do the mitzvahs we've already gotten. The Nishma will hear the mitzvahs we yet to get. And when we get them, we will do those. So it's like Nasav and Nishma and Nasav kind of, right? But we don't read it that way. We read Nasav and Nishma as we'll approach our relationship with the Eibush, with the Kabbalah Seirah. We don't have to understand, we don't have to appreciate, we'll just do. We'll do and then we'll hear. We'll try to understand it after the fact, but the first thing we're going to do is listen. And this, girls, is very, very important. Why? Because when a person becomes a righteous convert, they have to say Nasav and Nishma with their mouth, orally. Like when you go on an airplane and you're sitting in an exit row, and the lady comes by or the man comes by and he says, "Oh, do you think you're ready, willing, and able in case of emergency to assist in opening the doors?" And you nod your head, and she says, "I need verbal confirmation." You have to say it, but you didn't have to say a verbal confirmation. Nasav and Ishma, we're committed, we're in. Okay? So when a person goes to the mikveh, going through Gainos, they have to say to their Rabbanim, which is, you can't even imagine it. I'm committed. I want to become of this people, and me and my children and my grandchildren till the end of time are now members of the Jewish people. This affirmation is one of the most important parts of the Gaius process. You commit yourself to keep mitzvahs. You don't commit yourself to love God and love Jews, that too. But you commit yourself to do what he says. All 630 of them, an awful lot of mitzvahs. Yeah? So the Yidden said Nasav and Nishma was called in Halacha Kabbalah Mitzvahs, officially accepting Yiddishkeit. After that, Vayikach Moshe Hadam, he took the other half of the blood, which had not put him in the bed before. Vayizrik Ala'am, and he sprinkled it on the people. So Rashi says, now we can debate secret. We can debate.
Sorry, now you're on Pasuk.
On Pasuk Ches. Vayikach Moshe Hadam, he took the other half of the blood, which had not been put in the bed. Vayizrik Ala'am, he sprayed it on the people. So Rashi says a rule. This is the Gemara in Yevamos. This whole thing is the Gemara in Yevamos, right? Rashi says a rule that any place in Torah you have a concept of sprinkling blood on people, they have to go to the mikveh first. Ein hazoya believe Tefilah. There's no blood being sprinkled on a human being before going to the mikveh first. And we learn from this that if Moshe sprinkled blood on the people, they went to the mikveh first. And that's another part of Gaius, you have to go to the mikveh. And you have to play with the mikveh, you have to say that you do mitzvahs. Now, here it's described, first they said Nasav and Ishma, then the blood was sprinkled. When did they go to the mikveh? All of this is Thursday. We're talking about the sequence of events on Thursday itself. If you read it literally, you could say that first they committed the business, then they went to the mikveh, and after they went to the mikveh, the blood was sprinkled on them. Because that's the proof that they went to the mikveh is that the blood was sprinkled on them, and we know a rule all over the Torah that any time a person has blood sprinkled on himself, like if a person is a leper, he goes to the mikveh first. So we don't know when they went to the mikveh. They went to the mikveh that day, all the Jews, the whole nation. They tabled the mikveh, and they said Nasav and Ishma, and the blood was sprinkled on them. This is all part of the conversion process. Okay? And Moshe Rabbeinu says, now you can all turn to page 3, which means turn over your stack if it's double titled. This is the blood of the covenant. Is making, because the word kalas means he's dividing it. He's splitting it half with you. Now understand the philosophy of this. Right? What do we know about blood? Blood is life. And blood is passion. And you know that culturally, historically, there's all kinds of ideas of blood oath right? We don't exactly approve of those kinds of things. This is a blood oath. But it wasn't the blood of the Jewish people, it was the blood of some animals that represented the covenant. Moshe says to the Jews, I'm sprinkling blood on you, and you are making a blood oath, but not the blood of a cow. However you want to articulate this, your blood and the blood of your partner. Who's the partner? The Abishur himself is going into a covenant of blood. A commitment to blood, which means even if you have to lose your life, right? This is the blood that represents the covenant between Hashem and the Jewish people forever. I'll call out for all of this. All of this. All of this happened on Friday, the conversion, a mass conversion of the Jewish people. Okay? Then it says,
Where are we now?
we're on top of the third page, Pasuk Tes. But yeah, Moshe. And after the service is done, Moshe goes up. Now, when did it go up? That day or the next day? Huh?
Next morning?
I don't think so. See, I wrote date of this section is unclear, date of this section is unclear. The bottom of the third page is 6 days Shabbos, 6, 7, 2, 48, the day of the acquisition of the Torah. I think at least this happened on Friday. The bottom of the page is a machlekes. It actually brings two opinions from the Gemara of when these psukim were sent. But we're going to read straight. I'm going to continue reading until the end of the Mishpat, okay? And we're going to assume that this happens on Friday. So let's talk this through. Let's talk this through, okay? Thursday morning, Moshe went up. And he told the Jewish people that the Jewish people want to speak English directly. Hashem said, fine. It's just Tisha that will become holy. And he also told them that you have to convert them. And the conversion involves, number one, all the Torah they have before they need to review. Number two, they have to bring a covenant. Number three, they have to go to the mikveh. Number four, they have to have a covenant. And they have to commit to all the Torah they're going to get going forward. So the following day, Friday, Moshe did not go up the mountain. He stayed in the camp. And he did all the rituals, all the services that he was told to do. When he finished those services, he went up on Friday. Huh?
Didn't he always go up in the
Oh
morning?
yeah, because he probably didn't go to the top of the mountain. He went a certain distance. But we can question this. It's possible this is also one Shabbos. It's possible this is part of the account of the actual giving of the Torah, but we don't know. Yeah, Moshe ascends. The Aaron, but the Levi, and the Shimon, and 70 elders, the same thing that was described on the previous page in Pasuk Aleph and Beis, right? Now, perhaps what we just read actually is the beginning of the event of actual giving the Torah on Shabbos. We're not sure. But then it says something very powerful. But they saw God, saw the God of Israel. The Tachas Raglam, and underneath his feet, the Ma'isa Livnas Asapir, it was the likeness of Livnas Asapir. Livnas Asapir means white sapphire, okay? But the Rashi says Livnas Asapir means bricks of sapphire. Why bricks? Because bricks was reminiscent of the slavery of the Jews in Egypt. When the Jews were in Egypt, they did not build the pyramids. How do we know that? Oh? But this is from the first kingdom, then much, much later, and this from Ramses, da. How do we know the Jews did not build the pyramid? What's the answer to the question? The pyramids were made out of stone. The Jewish people made buildings out of mud brick. It's long melted away in the rain. They used brick, not stone. So when the Eibishter is given the Torah underneath Hashem's feet, they see in a very purified form their labor, their slavery. That's that aspect of Livnas Asapir, not white sapphire, but bricks, which is a commemoration of their earlier slavery. But in heaven, those bricks were beautiful. They were not mud and bloody, they were sapphire. Okay? Which means literally as the clear sky is transparent. With no clouds, you can see straight through it. Says Rashi, what does Rashi say? That when the Jewish people left Egypt, they had a clarity and a joy in place of the slavery that they had before. So it actually holds that this description of them seeing white sapphire in a clear sky is actually seeing the preciousness that they had by Hashem. A, the slavery, that's the brick, and B, the emancipation, the freedom, the redemption, represented by the joy and the clarity which they saw after it. You follow? Now, we're going, this happened on Friday, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's happened on Shabbos. Maybe this is part of the account of the actual giving of the Torah. I don't know. But let me just talk about this for a moment. The Rambam, in the book, the guide to the flex, uses this pasuk as a mechanism to describe what it means to see God in godliness. He says something wonderful. Everything wonderful said by the Rambam. A bunch of them. A rabbi ever said a good idea, the Rambam said it first. Okay? And if anybody ever tells you that every good idea by the Rambam, I said it first. He didn't say it first. Rambam, you have no idea how wonderful Rambam is, because everything he says is so simple. The Rambam says something very profound. He says, when you look at something, you see it. What if the thing you're looking at has absolutely no appearance? It's clear. If what you're looking at has no countenance whatsoever, then you see a reflection of yourself. But if you look into clear water, you see a reflection of yourself. But the Rambam writes that prophets see God, but God doesn't look like anything. When they experience godliness, they see godliness in their own image. The experience of godliness that they have is based on their life. And he learned it from this person. They looked at God, and what do they see? They saw themselves. God doesn't look like them. God doesn't look like anything. But a person who merits to experience prophecy, which means experience godliness, the version of godliness that they experience is a reflection of the life that they've lived. I mean, learn it from this person. You understand? They saw the God of Israel, right? V'tachas raglo, the use of the case of the, and underneath his feet, says the Rambam, right? The feet of God doesn't have feet. You understand that? What does it mean underneath the feet of Hashem? That means the beginning of creation. Right? Where the Eibishter ends and the world begins, it's called underneath his feet. It's all a metaphor. It's metaphysical. It's a much that Hashem doesn't have arms, Hashem doesn't have legs, right? But there is Hashem, and then there's the creation. Tachas Raglo means the first creation, which is not Hashem, underneath the so-called feet of Hashem. The lowest, we would say it in the language of Kabbalah, the lowest level of God is underneath the feet of the Eibush, underneath Malchus. Of Atzilus, they saw this likeness. But the Rambam is not a Kabbalist. So the Rambam cannot say what I just said. He would say, where godliness ends and worldliness begins, this is where the prophecy was. That's the meaning of underneath the feet. And what did they see? They saw the likeness of white bricks of sapphire. Why? But this was their experience. And when you see godliness, you see godliness in your own image. Because the sky is transparent. The sky is see-through. It has no reality, it has no visible form. So when you look at something which has no appearance whatsoever, it reflects you back on yourself. That's how the Rambam translates this person. So what does Hashem look like? You. You see, I'm God. Yeah, right? When you look at God, you see you, and when she looks at she sees her. So who's right? Which version is true?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, the answer is Hashem doesn't have a countenance. Your sense of him is based on your life's experience. So all of us appreciate the prophecy of the transcendent phenomena. The prophecy will cast yourself. But the experience of transcendence, of enlightenment and transcendence, which is associated with prophecy, is deeply connected to your prior experience. Your life informs your inspiration. The inspiration comes from Hashem, not from you. In other words, the meaning of prophecy is Hashem gives you something that you can't figure out by yourself. Because it's beyond you, beyond your ability to reach and understand ideas. But at the same time, it's above you as an individual person. Your prophecy is the transcendence of your experience. And that's what the Rambam titled this person. And they experienced the Nebuah, prophecy. Now we're going to assume, we're still assuming this was on Friday, the day before the whole nation would be collectively converted, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the Shabbos event. Then we're supposed to get out of it. And to the Atzilim, to the important young people of the Jewish people, Hashem did not extend his hand to punish them. Rashi says, Atzilim b'nei Yisrael goes another Navi when this came. Why? This was an incredible experience. Have you ever experienced prophecy? Tell me the truth. I haven't. I'm telling you, I'm not going to lie. It's embarrassing, but I never experienced prophecy. If you have, if you tell me yet, you got to convince me. They experienced prophecy, and it blew their minds, blew them, maybe friends. But the blowing of your mind has two components. Number one is overwhelming. Number two is awesome. They got comfortable over it. They enjoyed it. Wow. Look at the next words. The Yachim was of a kid, they saw godliness. They ate and they drank. Now, the simple reading of the word is imagine you're sitting at the same table with God, right? It's the shlomim. And God shows up, but you see him and you keep eating your chicken. It's kind of really? Hashem is sitting at the table, you're going to eat. Well, I have my portion, you got his portion. I got to eat mine, you got to eat his. I know. But you sit there, you shake hands and foot. You don't think it's cool? And they rejoice in the experience of the Nebuah. They rejoice in the experience of the Nebuah. Now, from the perspective of Jewish law, the Gemara says, and the fact of the matter is, I'm going to discuss it, one of the prerequisites is the prophecy of joy. But when you experience prophecy, you're in a joyous state, you're in an elevated state to a meditative state. When you experience godliness, it's terribly earnest. Very serious. It's very, very serious. They delighted in it. The Torah said they should have died. Should have died. They should have died because they forgot what was going on. And the Torah says, "Lo yishalach yad," Hashem did not punish them. There's Rashi, then. But there was an account. And it was paid later. One of the explanations to another that the Leo passed away is this. They experienced prophecy and they forgot what prophecy is. And the 70 elders have that experience later on by the Mishayim and whatever it is. But in the Chumash, there's later stories when the Mishnah punishes the Ksidim Shabamachaneh, the most important Jews, and Rashi said this was payback for this. They experienced prophecy, and for them it was probably the first time. And they forgot what it is. Are we good?
Yeah.
Next puzzle.
Wait, I have one question. Why does it say that it's as a result of the fact that they didn't receive the joy? Like they were happy and they didn't receive the prophecy well.
Numbers. Give me a Chumash, I'll show you.
Oh, so okay. So it's not like commentary, it's like some is with it.
No, it is commentary. It's Rashi. Based on the Chazal. Yeah, it's not in the pasuk explicitly, but here the pasuk says he doesn't punish them. But Rashi says he doesn't punish them at the time. He didn't want to make the occasion sad. Rashi says, they deserve to be killed for not for experiencing prophecy, but for forgetting what this means, how earnest you have to be. Okay? Next pasuk. Hashem says to Moshe, and be there. I'm going to give you a shluchim to Evan, the tablets of stone. Now, when did this happen? Rashi says, open to opinions. We assume that this happened after Matan Torah. I wrote date of this section is unclear, but it happened after Torah. And it says in Pasuk Gimel, Yaakov Moshe got up, the Yeshua Meshach, and the servant Yeshua. The Yahweh Moshe and with him, Moshe went up to the mountain, but before he left, while Kadim Omri says to the elders, Shu Lanu, but please remain here in the camp of the Jewish people. Adash and Nosh Lechem, to me and Yeshua will come back. V'hine, and in my place, I'm leaving two people to run the show, Ada and Bechur. Ada, who was Hur? Hur was Miriam's son. I'm leaving my brother and my nephew, they're in charge. And according to Rashi, when the Jews wanted to make the golden calf, would have said no and they killed him on the spot. And that's the explanation for why Aaron agreed to make the golden calf, because they saw his nephew laying, his blood was spilling. And Aaron said, they'll kill me, they're going to do it anyway. Let me see if I can drag it out. But they should have come to me about bottom. Anybody had the issue, you guys should approach. Yahweh Moshe Bahar, and Moshe up the mountains. By Yachas on this art, the mountain cup, the cloud closed on. And even this, Rashi says, we're not sure if this is before or after the mountain table. The Yishkin for the Shemach of Sinai, the glory of Hashem went on the mountain. By Yachasei or honor, and the cloud covered him meaning Moshe, or the mountain shake together for 6 days. By Yikra Moshe made it small, by Yain the stream the 7th day, we take honor from within the cloud. Now, there's two ways of reading these Tukkim. One way to read the Tukkim is these Tukkim happened after the day was given on Shabbos, and after Moshe, when the Torah was given, they got that set of certificates. Then the Moshe of the mountain, it took 7 days for everybody to let him in. So in reality, he was on the mountain for 40 days, but the first 7 days, right, they're like Nida, 7 days of Tumah and 33 days of Tahara. Moshe had been 7 days he waited. After 7 days, 33 days of Tahara, he learned right, 33 days. But you could hold that the 7 days were from Rosh Chodesh. The 7 days came from the Monday before. They came to Har Sinai for 7 days. So that should be both opinions. Hashem and the appearance of the glory of Hashem. In other words, Hashem is invisible, right? But you can see his representation. A gestalt, which represents him. So you know he's there because you see something other than him, which is representing him. Was the fire on the top of the mountain, which looked like it was eating up nothing. It was actually eating nothing, but it was there. That was the representation of the presence of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Ein B'nei Yisrael, and Jews all saw it. The other nation with the honor nation into the mountain, into the clouds, the Yal Allah, up to the mountain, he Mesha Bahar, Mesha the mountain, boy and rain, boy and blood, 40 days and 40 nights. And either the first 7 of those 40 days and 40 nights he waits to enter in to speak that Kadosh Baruch Hu, or the 40 days and the 40 nights already after the 7 days, and he has 40 days to learn the Torah. That's how Parshat Mishpatim finished. So I just read this with you. Okay, I read this with you. For sure, nobody knows for sure. I think this is Friday. This is late, but this is Friday. Before the Torah was given, they experienced the war. The day before the Torah was given, they experienced the war, and they got carried away. And maybe you can blame it on God. You have to blame somebody, right? Anybody but me. Why is it God's fault? He invited them to a feast. We're going to be in a cotton. I'm going to get a piece. You're going to get a piece. And the cotton going to get a piece. It's not time to eat. If this is the relationship God wants with them, this is the relationship they're going to have with God, then they got a little carried away. So what happens now? You go and eat lunch. Next week, we're going to start learning the sikhs on this story. Appreciate that the story is not written in order. Part of the story is in Yisrael, and part of the story is in Mishpatim. Now, I'm probably going to reread this in Tafshin Pei Vav or Pei Zayin when we move on to the actual giving of the Torah. In other words, we're going to do some sikhs. We're going to go back to our best friend, or whatever you want to call him, Baruch Shaman. And then after we do some Baruch Shaman, we're going to go back to this. We're going to do this as I've always done it, intermittent. Okay, but we just learned the parsha. The story we just read describes the events that happened in the day leading up to the giving of the Torah when Hashem formally had the Jewish people come to it. We're good. See you in a week. It wasn't an experience. It says in holy books. My experience was my wife and I were exhausted, so it was good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank you for coming.
Why do you have to talk this? Like when you see that kind of thing, why is it not prophecy?
Prophecy is the communication between God and man. Not God running his world.